That's right back, Charlie.
You always use that active when defenders have been given, like. You always use that active when defenders have been given, like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on. I mean, Ian Wright said it best there, folks. People deluded. I'm back again. It's Tuesday morning, as usual. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, good night. If you're watching on Twitter, one love. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. If you're on Twitch, if you're on YouTube, same back at you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, once again, good night. I hope you're doing well and safe. Extra big morning, people. Good morning for that matter to, my fellow English Super Cup winners, specifically Arsenal fans. Wembley's our home, and that big up Pep Guardiola for finally letting us beat them. Obviously, it was nice to beat Manchester City personally for myself because they've had our number. We've won a battle. They've won the war. In the grand scheme of things, while I'm obviously happy the fact that we've got silverware, obviously, it showed, I believe that game showed we can compete against City. We can come back from essentially the death. Trossard, we're giving him that goal. It's not an own goal. We came from behind. I think individuals, they stood up to be counted. I think collectively on watching the game twice, people, I think the game plan was quite good. Clearly, we need to chase kind of being more perfect across 90 minutes because I think I wouldn't quite say we were slow to start the game, but I think we respected them too much and grew into the game. I'd say the last 15 minutes for both teams, we kind of lost our discipline. Maybe it's because of losing your discipline, your focus. Naturally, it's the first couple games into the season or off the back of pre-season. And I think that led to a bit of naivety and us getting caught on the transition. I actually like the fact of how we pressed Manchester City as well. That's actually where the goal came from. City, as you know, they passed the ball to draw you out of position, and they did that. Partey tried to get tight to Foden, which, watching the game again, he actually tried to do the right thing. He just got spun. We all saw what happened with Tierney and Cole Palmer, and the ball was in the back of the net. But fortunately for us, we stood up to be counted where penalties were concerned. And also I think there was, again, beating Manchester City in any competition, you can't just rely on individuals. You need everybody to stand up to be counted. That being said, I think some individuals stood up tall and stood up strong, and obviously the attacking players made the difference. The vast majority of them took the penalties. We obviously, courtesy of Trossard, got back into the game. But I think it was a good game where, Ramsdale, the one question mark you could have with him is he does have that erraticness in him, and I do think he's being harshly criticized. People big him up. You're linked with Raya, and we almost got to cast the guy. I think he had a great game in 90 minutes. Obviously, a hero in penalties. Timber, we can't call everybody a Rolls Royce. We need to give everybody different names. Saliba is a Rolls Royce, Timber's a Bentley and stuff like that. I think Benjamin White on that had a great game. I think Gabriel did as well as Saliba, and big up Declan Rice. As it says there, smash the like button. Let me know your thoughts, people. We'll get into what Mikel Arteta has said in the aftermath of the game, and we'll obviously go over several things in relation to players we linked with. We have to get something for Pepe. I hear you, and you're not wrong. We signed my man for 70 odd million quid. Again, I guess we'll never know specifically why this Pepe thing didn't work out. There's clearly a mixture of reasons as to why his Arsenal career didn't take off. He was bought under previous regimes. I said at the time, I'm wrong about a lot of things, but I was right about Odegaard being a success here. I was right that Lacazette is not the guy to sign, not because he's a bad player, but spending 50 odd million quid on someone that's not going to get 20 odd league goals. And I said it's a bit dodgy. We're buying Pepe because he had a great 18 months. I don't know why it hasn't worked out for Pepe, bought under the previous regimes, bought for a price tag he never should have been bought for, joined us at a turbulent time. He's had some good and bad moments at Arsenal, clearly not favoured by Mikel Arteta, rightly or wrongly. On ability, I wish him the best because he's too good of a player to not, with it being pre-season, to be an alienated figure from a team for whatever reason. And with that being said, we should be getting a transfer fee for Pepe. Reality is, though, his contract is running out in a year. He's on big money. I don't know about now because we've given new deals and stuff, but you'd imagine he's out of a 25, 30-man squad. He's probably top 10, maybe even top 5 earners at the football club. It's not sustainable. The man needs to move. I agree with you that we need a transfer fee, but reality is he's on big money. alienated out of Arsenal, didn't pull up any trees at Nice. Contract is running down. Every offer has to be on the table. Now, we're going to get into it, but previously you've seen rumors say, boy, we're just going to rip up his deal. Then you've seen we're going to get a transfer fee. Every now and again, he's linked with Saudi Arabia. But I think we just got to bite the bullet now. If you got to rip up his contract, rip up the contract, just hold the L, free up the resources, keep it moving. I can't see us getting a transfer fee. Well, put yourself in a club that's going to buy Pepe, whoever that is. Put yourself in that shoes. Would you want to? Pepe probably going to have to budge on his wages, but he's going to probably want quote unquote competitive wages. Let's just say 100 odd grand a week in and around that region. Are you going to give him that and give Arsenal a transfer fee for a player that, especially if you're a foreign club, you can talk to him in about 6 months to join you for free? It's probably unrealistic. Again, something is better than nothing, but I still maintain every option where Pepe is concerned on the table. The most unlikely one is that he's reintegrated into the team. Bob's your uncle. It's like a new signing. That's probably not going to happen. Ripping up his contract, we've shown we'll flex our muscles in that regards, and that has to be on the table. Maybe even him going out on loan, just picking up a loan fee, another team taking on some of his wages, and we keep it moving from there. Or, pardon me, in an ideal scenario, we just get a transfer fee and we keep it moving. Teams keep lowballing us because they know we'll end up letting them go for free. Realistically, we're lowballing. Everybody's lowballing. It's business, really and truly. Where David Raya is concerned, every day that passes, there's going to have to be a resolution over his transfer fee and ultimately him signing for the club. Whatever we want for Balogun, maybe even Kieran Tierney. Obviously, Balogun's situation is a bit different, but we're probably going to have to, bite the bullet, essentially. So it is what it is. It's business, really. Just because you got money don't mean you're going to pay the asking price. Yes, as football fans, there's times where you can see a great player and it's a quote-unquote affordable fee. You don't want to mess around, but there's 3 weeks left of the window. I don't think every club is going to get rid of every player. Clearly, we're moving in that regard. Matt Turner seems to be, completing the finer intricacies into signing for Nottingham Forest. Trustees already left. A number of under-21s have left, and several players are linked with moves away. Marquinhos, have I said that right? Marquinhos is linked with a loan spell. I don't know what's going to happen with the Lokongas, the Tavareses, the Pepes, the Cedrics. I'm sure a lot of you, myself included, until when the game at Wembley, forgot Rob Holding was even on the books, with the greatest of respect to an FA Cup cult hero for us. So there's still a lot of work to be done. And for me, anyways, I hope Arsenal sign one more. I think we're missing something personally. On the face of it, I wouldn't actually rule out, if worse comes to worse, Timber maybe even playing in midfield. Zinchenko's there. You've got Fabio Vieira, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, Havertz, people that not necessarily people you look at to play in a pivot, either partnering or playing instead of Partey or Rice, but can play there. Clearly, we've brought in Declan Rice. We've just signed Jorginho off the back of January. We have got El Nene in the wings. I personally think we're a bit light. It don't even make sense because I don't think we're light in midfield, but I do at the same time. I would love another midfield option to compete with the Declan Rices, the Jorginhos, the Parteys, them kind of players. If you could bring in a right winger to compete / maybe even take Saka's place, then, that's great for us. Or if you could sign a striker that's a bit different to what we have, then, Jesus can play out wide, and you've kind of organically sorted that out, really and truly. So I wouldn't say necessarily other clubs are taking advantage, but if they are, wouldn't you do the same, really and truly? If you want Pepe, or especially with his contract running down, wouldn't you do the same? You look for other targets and, kind of hedge your bets if you need to go elsewhere, but wouldn't you do the same if you're buying Pepe? You're not going to give Arsenal what they want. The same goes for Balogun, potentially Tavares and Lokonga. Actually, with Tavares and Lokonga, I look at it like, are we going to loan them out again, or are they going permanent? Because I actually think Tavares had an okay loan spell at Marseille. I don't think it was amazing. I think there was some better moments than others, but I think Charlie Patton had a good loan spell. Brooke Norton-Cuffy had a good loan spell. Austin Trusty had a great loan spell. Balogun had a good loan spell. And I think Tavares showed at Marseille he had good or worse moments. And we signed him for 8 million. He's in his early 20s. Whatever we think about the man, smash the like button if you're on YouTube. Surely you can get a transfer fee there. He's contracted until 2025. Lokonga, 1 minute he's leaving permanently. Then he's going on loan. There's an option to buy. We don't know really, but we do have to give the club time. And I do think you have to give, whatever you say about Edu, you do have to give him time. To us normal football fans, Edu has a reputation of not really being the best in significant sales. Hopefully, with a couple of players going out from the door, with him obviously renewing deals that of players already at the club, the Sakas, the Martinellis, the Ramsdales, the Salibas of this world, and obviously bringing in the key targets in Timber, Declan Rice and Havertz, I'll give him the luxury of the time. Again, when you look at it, really, a couple of clubs are struggling to offload players. West Ham flogged Skamaka, and they're flogging is it Vlasic? They're selling him. You know, apart from Chelsea, really, out the top 6 clubs, who's really getting rid of the players that they don't want? You know, United with the Freds and the McTominays and the Maguires, a bit like us, because you've got meaty players on big wages, it's difficult. Chelsea, because their situation is a bit different, they've probably done the best in selling players, and arguably have they even got a squad. And Nkunku, unfortunately, is injured. Hopefully he gets through that. It's never nice to hear a player is injured. That Jackson brother looks good, but, you know, I'm sure Chelsea fans would agree they need a couple of others. And, you know, to be fair, it's easy to sell Kovacic, Mount, for Arteta, Havertz and players of that ilk, and flog a number of players off to the Middle East, which you'd obviously love Arsenal to do that, really and truly. But yeah, man, our players are not household names. You know, it's easy to sell them and potentially a Gallagher and things. Lokonga has not pulled up any trees, didn't do too much at Arsenal. Hardly anything to write about with his loan spell at Crystal Palace. Tavares, I don't know. Cedric, I don't know. And there's also a bunch of reasons, because some of these players, simply put, might not want to leave. They might want to assess their options. They might have offers on the table and they're waiting to see if there's better offers. You know, again, from a lifestyle point of view, some players might say, I'm not saying Cedric is doing this, but Cedric went on loan to Fulham. He's got a year left on his deal. He might say, you know what, I want my money from Arsenal. I'm not going to get that elsewhere. I love staying in London. My wife is happy. My kids are in school. There's a bunch of reasons, really. And you hope every day that ticks on, respectfully to the players who clearly are not in Arteta's plans, the club are putting pressure on their agents to get moves done. That's also another thing. Sometimes it comes down to how good your agent is. How many times do we see players get decent moves and you don't think they're levels? And you look at it like, wow, sometimes it comes down to your agent. K, morning, JT, one love as well. Keep your thoughts coming. But fundamentally, it would be nice to get something for Nicolas Pepe. Really. Third time watching Arsenal this preseason. Not going to lie, Timber is that guy. Man of the match, in my opinion, undoubtedly. And again, word to Rants, I told man about Timber. I said, this guy is going to be exciting for us. You know, again, I hope the fans that are waxing lyrical about Timber, you can't be great every game. When he has that mare, we stand by him. And it's easy to see why Timber with Arsenal fans would be probably underappreciated or underrated at the moment of him signing for the club. You know, again, done his thing at Ajax, plays for his country, but Havertz is a household name in the Premier League for good or bad, and there's talking points with that. Declan Rice is the poster boy, 105 million. Timber was brought in for modest fees, and respectfully to Timber, as much as, you know, us fullbacks are the most underappreciated individuals in this world, especially with the evolution of fullbacks now. You look at Trent, you look at Zinchenko, you look at what Timber is doing. You know, Havertz and Declan Rice, they're quote unquote match winners. You know, Declan Rice is essentially Captain Fantastic, and he's probably a candidate to one day captain this club. Big up Odegaard, don't want you to go elsewhere. Havertz is an attacking sort of player. That's what we're essentially in football for, really. So, yeah, it's unbelievable that it actually got to this stage that no one will take a chance on him. Maybe playing in France again might reignite his career, but he did that. And for me, not that I was watching Nice week in, week out, but I was watching quite frequently and doing the loan reports for you guys. He wasn't pulling up any trees. There were some moments he had some great form, others he wasn't. He had injuries. I don't think Pepe's quality is in question. You know, on individual ability, he's one of the best in Arsenal's team, or better yet, that is contracted to Arsenal. But talent isn't enough. Ability isn't enough. There's all the other ingredients. And for one reason or another, whether it's tactically, whether it's consistency, whether it's a clash of personalities, whether it's consistent application on the training field and in the matches, whether it's, you know, it's not always about how good you are at your best. How good are you at your worst? You look at Saka. Saka, again, when he's on it, you can't chat to him. One of the best young players in the world, one of the best right wingers, full stop, in the world. But when he's not at that, Saka still affects the game across 90 minutes, defensively and in all other actions. Does Pepe do that? I don't know, people. I'd love to hear from Pepe and Mikel Arteta, because I don't think it's all Pepe's fault. I don't think it's all the fault of Arteta, Emre, whoever. I think it's a mixture of everything, really and truly. But it would be nice if Pepe could get an opportunity, because we'd save money. You know, if Arteta woke up tomorrow and Balogun's the guy and Pepe's the guy, we've saved money. But reality is not everybody can come on this journey. There's players that, you know, we've gone from a team that, you know, we were just trying to get top 4, and we still need to qualify for that for years. Now we're trying to bring trophies. Players that helped us get towards the stage of getting back in the Champions League. Players that have been here to help us become contenders. By God's grace, if we win the league, they might not be players that last the duration. Players that we love week in, week out, that are in our strongest team, they might not get there, really. And you've seen it with Arteta. I do like the fact that Arteta is always thinking, you know, it looked like Aubameyang was his guy at one point. For one reason or another, he moved away from that. The same goes for Xhaka. The same goes for Joe Guendouzi and Pepe, actually, really. And slightly even Kieran Tierney and Tomiyasu to a slight degree. So it is what it is, man, in that regards. DG, if we see a late exit for Partey, apart from Caicedo, which other six would you like to see? For me, it's between Zubamendi and Caicedo, in my opinion. Zubamendi, really. You know, me and you have been always on these live streams waffling about Zubamendi. Would love him. Seems like it's gone a bit quiet in that regards. Would like to see us spin the block on Zubamendi. And I know he's not a six, but Gabby Viga's linked with Napoli, and he's a talented player that we've allegedly watched. You know, once these players end up at Napoli, it's very difficult to prize them away, really. And please, Ainsley Maitland-Niles got a new club. Big him up for going to Lyon. Hopefully, Ainsley Maitland-Niles can get some consistency, can stay there for a couple of years, because 1 minute he's at Arsenal, then 6 months he's in West Brom, or he's in Rome, or where did he go last year? Southampton. You hope Ainsley can just settle down his roots now. Big up, Darren. You're right about centre mid. DG Rice, Partey, Jorginho, and El Nene are all defensive midfielders. I know the plan might be to play Rice in the 8, as we've seen, but I think we need a specialist in that position. I just think we need one more, man. I don't know why. I just think we need one more centre mid, really, because I do like the fact that I haven't got a single complaint defensively. Like, I like Kyrgios probably going to struggle for minutes as a centre half, purely because of the partnership that we have of Gabriel and Saliba. But I am liking Kyrgios. I think he had a strong end to the season. I think he did all right in pre-season. He's actually one of my players of pre-season. You know, Timber's the poster boy. I think Trossard's up there as well. And I think Kyrgios really impressed me early doors. But yeah, you've got Gabriel, you've got Kyrgios, you've got Tomiyasu who can play all across the place. You've got Saliba, you've got Benjamin White, you've got, you know, Timber now, probably missing out players. I'm quite happy with our defensive options. Tierney's still in the wings, whether he plays or not. I still think we just need one more in central midfield, man. Arsenal should get a figure for assets better than terminating contracts. It's true, but at the same time, Arsenal might say, do you know what? We want to put all our eggs in further bringing in players and actually getting out players that we think could be moved on. It might simply be one less option, but you know, it's one thing wanting to sell for one reason or not. You know, for the last 2 years or so, we've been trying to sell Pepe. It's clearly different, but Paris Saint-Germain have been trying to sell Neymar for the last 2-3 years. For whatever reason, the man hasn't left. So we don't know, man. We really don't. United rejected 60 million for a fridge. So that's Harry Maguire and McTominay combo. Crazy times. 30 million a pop, really. I think that's good value for McTominay and Maguire. But the fact is, they spent 80 million. They might want to claw some back, really. And they might know that, you know what, David Moyes really wants these players. I'm not going to accept the first or second bid. West Ham might get a bit desperate and they might do anything. I mean, it's quite, you know, I don't big up West Ham, but I don't really care what they do with their money. But it is quite crazy seeing them spend the Declan Rice money on utter madness, if I'm honest with you. They are getting that Edson Alvarez, no clue what's going on with Ward-Prowse. I thought Pepe was okay. I do as well, but I don't think it's not about being okay. Like, again, I wouldn't mind Pepe in the squad. You're the closest thing we have to a right winger, right? And respectfully, you are better than Reece Nelson. But Nelson plays because he's in Arteta's plan. Saka's the number one. You've got Martinelli. You've got the option of Jesus. You know, I'm definitely missing out on an next player. Trossard, how could I forget him? He's just simply put not in the plans. And I don't know if right wing was a priority, really. I think it you know, if there was a chance to do it, I think Arsenal would do it. You know, we've gone away from the RB links, and clearly that case is shot because he's gone to Aston Villa. Now it kind of looks like Arteta would like if not necessarily Kudus, who apparently will get into it, agreed something with Brighton, maybe someone that can do a job on the right hand side, as well as giving greater flexibility elsewhere, because, you know, Havertz has done that. Arteta has almost exclusively spoken about Kai Havertz as a central midfielder. We know he's played as a false nine, and it's not anything innovative in that instance from Mikel Arteta. But he started him in a cup final, first time in his Arsenal career, as a false nine. He's spoken about his height and he's spoken about his versatility. In fact, he's even spoken about the fact that he can play on the right-hand side, really. So I don't know where we're at with that. Arteta seems to have zero interest in a striker. Must be waiting for something at Christmas. I mean, it would be lovely to bring in a striker. You know, I know he's you know, riding a bird at the moment because he got banned for the betting thing. But someone like Ivan Toney would be perfect for the squad, if I'm honest with you. That's what I mean when I say we need something a bit different. Again, Jesus, for someone who's not the biggest, you saw against Araujo in Barcelona, his hold-up play is good, but I just think Ivan Toney, for his mentality, for his link-up play, evidently his goals, his mentality, if I didn't make that clear, for the fact of he can act like a target man, that sort of skill set would be good. But I would say to us, wider footballing fans, you know, the striker market's in the gutter, really. I know every couple of months there's a decent striker that comes about. Vlahovic, whatever you say about him, you know, Højlund from Atalanta. These guys kind of pop up on the scene. Jackson of Villarreal, formerly of Villarreal, now of Chelsea, looks decent. But it's essentially all a risk. So maybe Arteta wants it. But if you're not 100% convinced on the play, you're not really going to do it. With Pepe, I really don't want Pepe to go. I don't know why Arteta is not rating Pepe, because he's versatile too, if I'm concerned. It's true, and we could have used Pepe at times last season. It boggles my mind that Pepe can't be integrated into the squad. Exactly, and he can be backup for either Martinelli or Saka. I like Locatelli, but he's Italian. I don't know what that means. Big up the Italians. Locatelli, he shagged us last time, innit? Like, you know, Sassuolo wanted to sell to us. We wanted to offer a bit more. He wanted Juventus. Do your thing, really. Pepe is no way that bad. They have to write off his contract, just get him out of the team. Is true, but maybe we've offered my man about, you know, wasn't it the other day Pepe got new agents for one reason or another? Your situation ain't changed. Respectfully to Nice, maybe he wanted to go back to France where he had good times, but for all of Pepe's ability, I think even Arsenal haters can't say Pepe ain't got ability. Why is it that only Nice came through with an official offer? Or it could have been more. I don't know. 50 million for Maguire is too much. We need a striker far more than yet another centre mid. Do we? I think they're both of equal importance. Strikers win games, I hear you, but central midfield, you know, again, Partey, and I do think long-term Mikel Arteta wants to play Rice and Partey, either one of the two in the base of or in the 6th row, and have rotating 8s of Odegaard and Havertz, but that's going to take teething problems. So right now, our first choice trio in midfield, and I think it gives us the right balance when it comes to pressing, when it comes to fluidity, when it comes to adding a bit of physicality. Clearly is Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, Martin Odegaard. Anything happens to any of those players, which has come out that Rice is actually playing with a calf knock. Partey, while a bit like Tierney, he's probably been as last season as ever fit as he could have been. I don't think there's a single fan that's 100% convinced that Pepe is going to last the duration of a season. I think we're a bit light in central midfield, really. You could argue centre mid's more of a priority. They're not front, really, even though I think they're both of equal importance. I would like a striker. I just think we're missing a trick not bringing in one central midfield, if I'm honest with you. Maybe Zinchenko can play CDM. It depends on the game. With Pepe, he was a yo-yo player who was only good when the team was built around him, like in Lille. When he came to Arsenal, he wasn't the main man. Didn't Tony go Turkey? I don't think so. DG, what's your starting 11 this Saturday? For me, I want to try Martinelli in the 9 and Trossard on the left. I'd say Trossard, if that's the case, it doesn't really matter which one they start, because Martinelli and Trossard, they've got a good relationship. You know, they'll keep rotating in and out of the forward position and left wing. On one hand, I want to go with the same team that went out, that started the game against Nottingham Forest, with the exception of, you know, for me, Martinelli always has to play. And it's one where I wish he could play 12 players. But I think Trossard, sometimes he's obviously a good player, and I'm not saying he's a purple patch player, but when you have a good player that seems to be carrying himself in a real good moment, sometimes I think you got to play on that. So personally, for me, and it all depends as well, if Zinchenko is fit enough and Arteta trusts him, I can understand why he starts. Do I think Timber deserves to be dropped? You could say Timber moved to the right-hand side. Do I think Benjamin White deserves to be dropped? No, really. And it's not always the fact of your form is good or bad while you're in the team. There's other dynamics. So on one hand, I'd probably go out with the same team that started at Wembley. You'd have to ask me later on in the week, to be honest. You know what? Right now, Ramsdale, no clues. You know, Ramsdale, Gabriel Saliba, Benjamin White, probably keep Timber where he is. Partey, Rice, and Odegaard, as I've said, that's my first choice midfield trio. Saka, evidently on the right. You know what, Martinelli, Trossard, you know. But then again, I wouldn't mind Eddie Nketiah playing, and I can understand if Havertz keeps his position. So I would say, like 90%, I'd say for me, it's really just up front. Like, do you go with Trossard? Do you go with Eddie Nketiah? Or do you go with Kai Havertz, really? Make your debut at the Emirates, full 3 players and whatnot? I don't know. But I do think it's important that we win against Nottingham Forest. And I think it's important that, you know, definitely from the first 4 or 5 games, we get at least 9 to 12 points, really, sooner rather than later. Even though a lot of people don't want Vlahovic, but I would love to watch him play for us. He can be a gunman. His stock seems to have fallen, but if Arteta wants to go for him again, why not? Again, I'm happy with the signings we've got, but I always think from time to time, what would our team have looked like if certain players walked into the club? Like when we tried to get Douglas Luiz, when we bidded for Caicedo, when we tried for Rafinha, had the Mudryk thing happen, maybe Trossard wouldn't be here, but what would it have looked like? Someone mentioned Locatelli. What would it look like if we had him? What would it have looked like if we got Vlahovic? Pepe's record at Arsenal is about similar to Havertz at Chelsea, yet Arsenal pay 65 million for one and write off the other. I don't think it's as white and black as that, but I hear that. Pepe must have attitude problems. Maybe, man. You don't want to see Zinchenko at left back ever again. Let's chill out. We're going to need everybody, because if Timber stinks up the place, God forbid, against Nottingham Forest, people will do a complete change of heart. We're going to need everybody in this squad. Timber and White should be playing. I believe so as well. And I would say, with the greatest of respect to Zinchenko, as much as I said this before, as much as I rate Mikel Arteta's system, what you're doing, and all of these things, and I think there's more solid foundations, as you saw last season, and injuries can harm any team. If we're not able to cope with Saliba's absence, as great as he is, if we're not able to essentially play out from the back, build up play and score goals, if a left back isn't there, is the foundations, playing devil's advocate, is the foundations really that good? I think with Timber, it showed that we don't necessarily have to rely on Zinchenko, because Zinchenko picks up these little knocks. We're going to need Zinchenko, but it's all about how you cope with the absence of certain individuals, like we've saw that has cost us in these last 2 seasons, really. I think when we finished 5th, there was some positives to take from the season, but fundamentally, at the end of the season, we couldn't cope with certain injuries. Last season, we had a good year. We couldn't cope. There was obviously times we coped with certain players not being there, but when it was crunch time, we could not cope. We can't let that be the case next season. Well, this season starting this week. That injuries are not... I don't have sympathy for any manager with injuries as much as I love Mikel Arteta, unless it's a thing where 7, 8, 9, 10 of your first team is out. I don't have sympathies. Injuries are not exclusive to us. We have to get on with it. DG, what did you think of Havertz in the City game? In my opinion, he did well, but his finishing needs major improvements. You said that, and maybe, Chelsea fans were probably getting deja vu or probably sitting there and laughing. I think he had a good game. I can't lie. I think the game plan worked. I think he made some tactical fouls. I think he offered a physical outlet. I think he mucked in. Again, I think he stood up to be counted. Crucially, like you said there, as great as I don't think he played amazing. Neither do I think he was terrible. I think it was a good collective team effort. But it's like you said, the 2 chances, and he's not alone, really. There was a couple of chances we could have done better. And another time, we might be focusing on those missed chances. And Havertz gets into the box. There's a lot to like about him, but it's about taking them rawness elements out of his game and defining himself. And, Mikel Arteta is not a miracle worker. He's not Jesus, in it. But, you found Odegaard shooting boots. You found Saka, because of you, Saka is, and obviously him, but Saka's got double figures last 2 years. Martinelli's found his goal scoring boots. Whatever you think about Eddie Nketiah, he is improving. Xhaka found the goal scoring touch in his last season for Arsenal. Hopefully that can rub off on Kai Havertz, because I do think he should have scored at least. The second, he had 2 clear-cut chances. One was slightly behind him and he fell, but the second chance was that the one Benjamin White. Was the second one, whichever one Benjamin White played him in for, and I could be wrong, I think he needs to score that one. And clearly, you said it there, the finishing has to improve, really. We need to be, we got 80 goals last year. We need to be a team that can do that and better. We need to get close to 100 goals, really. If we could all score more goals, how many games when we was playing bad could we have ultimately just ran away with because we scored more? We're going to live or die by how efficient, in my opinion, we are in both boxes. I do think we've got better defenders. I do think we're an improved defensive team, but we now need to become a team that defends of the standard of, the many Arsenal sides, the Man United sides, the City sides, the Liverpool sides, the Chelsea sides, the Spurs. I'm capping about Spurs, of course, but the teams that have won leagues in it, we need to be able to do that. And again, off the back of last season, you're not going to go into pre-season and all the errors in your game and all the things you need to improve. You're not going to spend a month or 2-3 weeks and that's all done, really. It takes forever to unlearn bad habits and learn good habits, essentially, really. But we need to improve defensively. And it's not a worry, but I think we're improving in the middle of the park, especially with Declan Rice's physicality. I need us to keep more clean sheets. Even in this pre-season, as good as we've been, you've seen the same errors, really. On the transition, you saw it against Manchester City. You saw it, not just the goal Monaco scored, but the chances. The same goes for City. You saw individual mistakes and on the transition at Man United. Any decent team we have played in this pre-season, you've seen it, essentially. So that's my worry, and it's not just the defenders. The whole team is in charge of being efficient in both boxes. And as much as I believe we can score goals and it's not a worry, if I play devil's advocate, Saka is the only one that I would bet my life that is going to get a handsome return of goals, really. I hope Jesus can stay fit, but as much as I like Jesus, goals are not necessarily a quality he's praised on, really. When you hear Pep speak or Arteta speak, you want him to stay fit and be able to do that. I don't know for a fact if Martinelli is going to get 15 league plus goals again this season, nor do I know if Smith Rowe's fit, he'll do what he did the last season he was ever present, nor do I know that with Martin Odegaard. I think they can. I believe they can, but I don't know it for a fact, really. Ultimately, you need to score goals and keep balls out the back of your net. That's football. No matter how much we try to complicate it, waffling about inverted fullbacks and fancy diagrams, you need to score more than your opponent. That's how you win a game. That I wouldn't say it's a worry. That's just something I'm looking for, if I'm really honest. I really want Arsenal to sign Kolo Muani or Vlahovic. I like Kolo Muani. I just feel the price tag, we're going to get bumped. DG, I can't lie, against low blocks, I want Zinni and Timber playing. I hear that. You know, Timber's, respectfully to Benjamin White, he's got a bit more on the ball than him, really. And it could help us, really. It's just good to have good options. I do want to see Timber and Zinni in the same game, but White's been playing well. I think we all want to, and variety is the spice of life. Life would be very boring if we was eating the same meal. There's going to be games for Timber and White, Zinchenko and pardon me, and Timber, Benjamin White and Zinchenko. Who knows? There might even be games where we say, forget all that inverted fullback stuff. Tierney and Tomiyasu, which I don't quite believe this. They could be the guys brought back in. If we're in the trenches, I ain't gonna lie, Timber's a trench baby, but they might be the ones, really and truly. We just need different varieties, because obviously, you know, teams are going to try and mitigate against the threats of Arsenal. You saw it really and truly as the season. In general, you've seen it since Mikel Arteta's got his team functioning the way he wants. But you saw last season, you know, you foul us, you time waste, you low blocks, you know, you wait on the transition. These are weaknesses, and teams are going to focus on that. We're not a breath of fresh air like last season where there's not expectations. There's a degree of expectations now. And that's why I'm happy with Timber, because, you know, if you double up against Saka, if you lock down Zinchenko, you make it harder for us, really. And that's common sense, really. And we should be doing that for other teams. Does Zinni walk back into the team, or does he need to earn it? Both. I do think if he's fit, he plays. But, you know, Timber's grabbed your spot. It's a bit like Martinelli last preseason. Unfortunately, that was Smith Rowe's spot. He was injured. Martinelli ran away with it. And whoever wants to take the shirt, take the shirt. If you were in Arsenal's team prior to this transfer window, hold on to your shirt, whether that's Raya coming in, Timber coming in, etc. Likewise, if you're coming into the club, go and give Arteta problems. You know, Lord knows how much problems Arteta's had to deal with at Arsenal in a negative sense. Go and give him some positive options to cry about, really. Does he, you know, play Havertz, Rice and Odegaard? Does he go Rice, Partey and Odegaard? Does he play Timber, Zinchenko or Kirill or Tomiyasu? Does he play Raya or Ramsdale? Does Jesus play up front? Does Jesus move out wide? No, I can't move him out wide because Saka's there. Trossard is probably the one at this moment in time. You hope Fabio Vieira can complicate things, because that is, you know, Fabio Vieira, I'm not going to lie. Last season, you know, you were injured. The team was doing well. There weren't really time for rotation. You didn't grab a spot. You was probably unfortunate in that two of Mikel Arteta's army generals in Odegaard and Xhaka, they're key to the build-up play. They're key to our team. That's your two positions, the 8 and the 10. Odegaard's always going to play 10 ahead of you. You don't know if Odegaard moves back into that 8 position, which I think he can do, and I'm keen to see him play that one day at Arsenal. But we're playing rotating 8s. If you get fit and you show stuff, you might be able to get football here. What do you mean you don't have sympathy for injuries? I think I've said it. Once again, for those at the back, unless the whole team is out, I don't have sympathy for injuries. Do I like injuries? Do I have sympathy for players? Yes. I'm talking about managers. I don't have sympathy for players, managers not being able to select certain players and the knock-on effects. We watch football. We know football injuries happen. It's part and parcel. It's like a chef cutting his hand. You know the job you walked into. So I hope that's crystal clear, man. It's just going to have to sound stupid. Ignorance is bliss there. I might be too emotional with Zinni because he costs us, but he needs to take accountability on his defensive actions more and time he got caught up. To be fair, if you listen to the Rio Ferdinand stuff, he spoke about against Chelsea, against Liverpool, and there might even been another game where he said that he's trying really and truly. I don't think you can accuse Zinchenko of not taking accountability. What I would say is every player has faults. And in Zinchenko's defense, like all of these players, there's been times they've had bad games or cost us, but equally there's been times they've stood up to be counted, essentially, people. So just got to take the rough with the smooth, really and truly. Timber was amazing. No way Zinni comes back. Zinchenko's got to prove you wrong, man. What's your thoughts on the away kit? I think it's pretty cool, but could be better. I'm agreeing with you, but I can't lie. Having it now and looking at it, I'm warming up to the idea more and more. To be fair, I don't think I've released my review on that, so I'll get that out for you lot today. I like the idea of Zinchenko as a number 8. Look at Petit, decent number 3, but world-class centre mid. Boy, I don't know, because I know Zinchenko runs into midfield, but Pep and Arteta haven't played you in midfield. So what is stopping them from that? But Zinchenko has the capacities to play there, and ultimately, the more options we got, we're doing what we need to do. Pepe is done out here. Shout out Cam and the members. I'm surprised nobody wants him except the Turkish Graveyard League. Bit harsh, man. Bit harsh. I can't lie. I was looking at the reports a bit funny. Like, bro, what do you mean, Pepe? You can't pattern up a move to Saudi Arabia? They're saying your wages are too high. It's crazy. DG, would you be happy with European qualification next season, or is it time Arsenal won a trophy, including the league? Listen, we're Arsenal Football Club. You always want to win trophies. The money we're spending, the things Arteta is doing, it has to be engineered to winning trophies. There'll be a time where I genuinely believe Arsenal are title contenders, and I think we can fight for it, but I don't necessarily think we can win it. I want to be proven wrong. I want to win the trophy. But qualifying for the sake of qualifying isn't good, but we need to consistently qualify for the Champions League. It's a green highlight, man. You look like a cyclist with the away shirt, if I'm honest. It was all City. Then Havertz made that slide tackle winning ball from Rodri and momentum shift. Big up Declan Rice. I'm sure you've all watched that recovery tackle from him. Havertz brought some dark arts with him. That's all. And we need that really, because what is central to Pep Guardiola's players, a bit like Arteta, is tactical fouls. You see Odegaard do it all the time. I think personally, if Partey wasn't on a yellow card, you would have had, that's the only way to stop Foldinho. He would have pulled Foden down, but it is what it is. Havertz is a different profile up front for us. We've not had a tall, big lad up front since Giroud. Against lower side, he'll thrive and he'll get better. Do you keep starting Rice to let him learn the box-to-box role? I think the 8 role, I think he knows the box-to-box role. Or do you let him start in certain matches? I want Partey to start before him unless he's out of form. To be fair, if Rice is fit, Rice has to start. It signs you for 105 million. You significantly take up our midfield. I don't care if Rice is playing as a 6 or learning to play as an 8. You need to play. Rice needs to play. Really, like Rice needs to play. Good questions, though. Keep them coming. Hey, DG, do you think Arteta needs to show more composure on the sidelines in high-pressure moments? I think he shows composure, but football's an emotional sport, and Arteta's like that, really. I think he might have to because, with these new rules that I haven't clued myself up on, but, I did see there's rules around how you conduct yourselves in the technical area, so it might need to. But I wouldn't say no because, you could say yes, but as a manager, as a footballer, like, come on, man. Some of you play Sunday League. Sometimes you might see your manager going mad on a Sunday League football pitch and you feed off that energy. There must be times where Arsenal players might be feeling sorry for themselves, heads might be dropping, and off their own cause they pick it up. But likewise, if you see your manager kind of fighting with you, that might give you a lift. So keep doing what you're doing, Arteta, for me, man. 10 for me is a bit too much, but 8, there's possibilities. You're talking about Havertz, Zinchenko, or Fabio Vieira? Not going to lie, Fabio did well when he came on. I might put some stocks in him. Best cameo from him in a while, really. It is difficult to affect the game in 10 minutes or so, and it's a bit of an impossible job in that for several players. Can you really expect a player to show anything if they're not getting a run of games or playing consistently? But at the same time, for the manager, we need to win games, and Fabio Vieira, unfortunately, at this moment in time, does not make us stronger from the start of doing that. So you kind of have to use those minutes and use training to that the manager takes that gamble and starts you, or God forbid, naturally, once again, the nature of this business are injuries and opportunities open up for you. Look at Marcus Rashford at Man United. His ability probably would have made him have opportunity, but was there not a striker crisis at a point under Louis van Gaal? He got his opportunity, he ran with it, and you see where the man is today. Defense wins leagues. Not going to lie, Timber is bad news for Zinchenko unless it's a toothless low block team. I personally don't see Zinchenko being the best option. We look too vulnerable down that side. And again, no, but then you say that, but Declan Rice on that left-hand side, it gives that bit of security really and truly there. Like you saw in the second half for a period, Declan Rice kind of filled in as a third centre-half. Zinchenko plays midfield for Ukraine. I hear that. Odegaard silky. Bro, whose ankle did he break? He broke someone's ankle still. Was it Alvarez? Odegaard's such a cute footballer, man. Off-topic question. Rate this Emirates era right back in order. Sagna, Bellerin, White. Sagna first, White second. Bellerin, like Sagna, White. The crust of the earth, Bellerin. The thing is, there was a time where Bellerin was lit. I don't know what happened. DG, whose stocks will go up significantly this season? I feel Vieira. I hope so. But there's a certain Haylender, the number 10, that I hope people remember. My Sunday League manager was a madman. There you have it. If you don't get passion while watching football, do you even like it? That's true, but some people are composed. Wenger, Mr. Composed, really. You rarely saw him show emotion. And equally, sometimes that calmness when things are going wrong, you know, in life, you know, in situations where there's every reason to panic, 9 times out of 10, fight or flight, where there's every reason to be scared. That's when you've got to keep the most calmness. And sometimes when your manager's being calm, it can help you. You know, what I would say is variety. What I think with Arteta is just, you can't pre-plan emotions. There's no point jumping around on the sideline for the sake of it. There's no point trying to come across composed for the sake of it. Do whatever the game demands, really and truly. And there you have it. Not everybody responds in that way. One critique for Odegaard, even though I think he's my favorite player in the squad, but he really needs to show up in the big games, not just goals or assists, but influence the dynamic. And Nkunku's out for 4 months. That's crazy. Fabio Vieira has actually had a good preseason, to be fair. So keep that. And when your chance comes, take it. I don't really rate Patrick, lad. DJ, how many goals do you think we'll score as a team in all comps? Because there were times last season when we took our foot off certain teams' necks. We need to target 80 to 100. In all comps, probably need to get that 90 odd region, depending on how far we go, 90 to 100, really. We need to get 80 odd in the Prem. You know, Arteta said it the other day, you know, we need to be looking at 100 points if you want to fight this City team. Unfortunately, this City team is almost an impossible job because you can't have too many games where you've taken L's or you've dropped points. You know, last season, I genuinely believe if Pep Guardiola wasn't a thing and the City team wasn't a thing, we've won our first Premier League title in the Emirates era. Unfortunately, that is not how life works. And I'm sure, you know, City fans, you're hoping it never ends. For us Arsenal fans, essentially, you can't wait for the day that Pep Guardiola says, you know what, I'm cutting, really and truly. Oh, sorry, folks. YouTube are just keep your thoughts coming. YouTube just alerted me to something. Sorry. What's this? Let's go in here. 69 likes. Can we get to 100, folks? One love in advance as usual. Okay, everything's cracking in that regards. At 2 p.m, by the way, folks, yesterday I shot something with my guy Art De Roche. Make sure you join that. You would have seen that was obviously scheduled. We spoke about the Community Shield and we spoke about a bag of things, and there was a bit of propaganda. Kovacic got ripped. Alvarez is lit. Hey, Arteta, chat to Alvarez, man. Chat to him, man. You're not going to get the love you deserve at City with Haaland there. Come and join us. You see what we're doing with the South Americans. We ain't even got no Argentine, so come be the first one part of this. That Bellerin game versus Douglas Costa, Bayern, he never recovered. To be fair, in that game, he got spanned where, you know, I know football's crazy because if somebody does a skill, it's all clipped up on socials, but this is elite sport. They're going to get past you. You're going to get ripped. And I actually think in that game, he bounced back. Fabio strikes the ball with great confidence. Hopefully that confidence can find its way into the rest of his game. I don't think, again, I don't know, because some players that we think look confident, they might not have any. And some players we think have all the confidence in the world might not have any. So I don't know Fabio as a person. I do agree with the confidence thing. I would say for Fabio Vieira, why I like you, and I've said it before, I think you're an Arsenal footballer. I think you've got the technical ability. I think you've got the versatility in your game. I think you've got a good left foot. I think you've got good link-up play. I think you're an intelligent player. For him, I think he just needs to, you know, just eat food and impose yourself in games, really and truly. If he could start imposing himself, then there we have it. The ACL did kind of do Bellerin dirty. Really. The Rice Partey midfield, along with the back four of White, Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, will be a cheat code in bigger games. And I can't lie, again, I like Zinchenko, and I'm not really of an agreement of we got a shiny new toy, you know. At some point, Benjamin White's going to get it, because if Zinchenko jumps in the team tomorrow and he's playing well, and Benjamin White has to drop out for Timber, people are going to say White can't get back in the team, blah, blah, blah. But I do like the fact of, you know, whether Timber's going to play left back or right back, Gabriel, Saliba, and Benjamin White. Pardon me, looking at City, Pep said it himself, one reason they were able to win the treble and do better is in those situations. And obviously you've got Rodri and Stones, which would be kind of our Declan Rice and so on and so forth. You've got better 1v1 defenders, really, and Timber is a 1v1 defender amongst all the other qualities he has. That makes me a lot more confident when we're in high pressure moments. Actually, times like against City, where it's not about what we can do with the ball, it's off the ball what makes the difference. Abue, lovely but meaty guy, man. Some AFTV pundit, not naming, should stop disrespecting Havertz. The guy's hardly played enough games to be judged. You know, again, everyone's allowed their thoughts, but in relation to whoever that is on that channel, is where it is, man. You know, less about that, the better. Let's focus on what we're saying. Big up the N16. Morning, DG. Congrats, Arsenal, on winning the Community Shield from a United fan. Love the content. Appreciate you. You're one of the good United fans. I wish you was like my friends, because my friends, you know, like one thing I hate about Man United fans or my brethren is when Arsenal take an L, you call their phone, they're always picking up. When there's L's around there, it's radio silence. Like since beating us in pre-season, don't get twisted, man. Wrexham and that, drawing against Bilbao and that. Goals from the halfway line, bicycle kicks, guys keepers getting chipped and that. They're not saying a word. Needs to bang Jim. Imagine a world where Wenger came back as assistant manager. Respectfully to Arteta, if you're Arsene Wenger, he ain't being no assistant to Mikel Arteta. I love Odegaard's intelligence, his movements, but at times when an opponent is more physical, he gets bullied physically. I mean, that's just him, innit? We got to mitigate against that. 100% on Fabio hitting the gym. He looks like he hasn't eaten for a week. He needs to physical up. I'm waiting for Nketiah apologist. People still twerking for Pepe. Even Iwobi got more ratings. I don't get the intense Eddie hate. I don't get the intense Eddie hate. I wouldn't say I get it, but I get the frustration. You know, we've seen Aubameyang, Van Persie, prior to his injury, Eduardo, Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp. The list goes on and on. He's wearing the number 14. You know, I get it. And I don't think Eddie Nketiah, with the greatest of respect, is anything to write home about. I don't think he's a match winner, but I do think he's a competent player in what Mikel Arteta demands of a striker, provided other players are pulling their weight and scoring goals. I think Eddie's useful, and I think he's a useful player in the squad. You know, if there were certain offers, I'm selling him. I'm not going to cap. I would like to bring in a better striker, but I don't think he's as rubbish as some people make out, really. I don't think Eddie Nketiah is rubbish. I just don't think he's a talisman sort. I think he's a decent player. Neymar wants to leave PSG. I know it's impossible, but would you take Neymar at the carpet? Arteta end up beating him up. Do you think Trossard will start over Martinelli versus Nottingham Forest? No. I would love to see it because I think Trossard, you got to be a bit clever when these lot are playing well, and I don't really want to drop Martinelli, but may the best man win. I think one thing I like about our squad is we can have confidence that whoever's out there, there's levels now. You know, previously in Arsenal years, and it might still be the case. I mean, like football, it's always the player that, when things go wrong, it's always the player that isn't involved that's the gem. But there's been many a time where, you know, it's always the player that hasn't played or is injured. That's the one you miss. Now, I think with the squad we're getting, there's actually some half decent players that we like. That one baller in school that's cold, but just avoids physical confrontation. Smith Rowe is a good shout. He seems to have his stride. He needs more games. He'll improve, but let us believe. I mean, it's like life, innit? You could be riding high in April, shut down till May. You got the number 10, scoring in North London derbies, doing all of that. And then you've got the injuries. You've not got your squad back. This is your space in the starting 11 back. Go and take it back. Essentially. Trust me, the less about them and the better. But shout out them, man, though. How about Santi Cazorla as Mikel Arteta's assistant? I mean, there was rumors bringing him back. Bring my man back to the carpet. You know, really. I'm not going to give up on my agenda of one day, you know, Odegaard playing in the 8. Who better to learn off than Santi? I'm not sure what you're saying there, but big up the Twitch gang. I don't know if I'm a top tier content creator, but I appreciate you regardless and your thoughts. It's down to me to keep working hard so that I can be worthy of such claims, man. Even when he plays right wing, Vieira gets dashed around so easily. Do you know what? He does, because I think against Monaco, normally his technical level, you know, normally with Fabio Vieira, he can't assert himself. He doesn't win too many duels. He doesn't really put his mark in games, but he's quite cute. He really, you know, in terms of he recycles the ball well. He never really loses it. I think against Monaco, his end product weren't really the best in the final passes and the defensive actions. Really and truly. And I think, you know, he flipped that and he was brilliant against City, just like with Trossard, man. People are onto Mikel Arteta for his sub of Tierney on. You know, had Timber have made that mistake, we can only talk about what actually happened, but where would we have been with that? You know, so it all depends, really and truly. It all really depends, man. I just think we've got to give time, man. It's a squad game, really. We need a squad. You look at City, they've got a squad, really. 9 times out of 10, there's historically a Kevin, at City, Diaz is always going to play. 9 times out of 10, Kevin De Bruyne is always going to play. Edison's going to play. You know, Walker's probably going to play. But every now and again, there's a player which you've seen with Mahrez, with Foden, with Bernardo. So there's actually been times Bernardo's been a bit part player at City where their form's really out of the world and Pep has no choice but to start them. That's where Arsenal need to get to. We need to have a competitive squad. In an ideal world, I think I speak for most Arsenal fans, we'd love for everyone to get equal minutes and stuff. But if everybody, you know, unfortunately in life, if life was fair, we'd all have a lot less. If we, I don't know how it would work out, but if we shared out all the minutes in this squad equally and all the guys we cry about getting games, Arsenal would not be where we need to be as a squad. The relationships in that starting 11 wouldn't be there. Life isn't fair, football isn't. Unfortunately, while I like the family mentality we're doing at this club, we're not here to make friends. We're here to win stuff. If you're at whatever point in time, whether you're guys like Saka and Jesus, where undoubtedly the quality is there, not saying others ain't, and you're starting week in, week out providing the goods, great. If you're a Jorginho, a Trossard, you know, I'm forcing it, but El Nene, a Kirio, or Tini, a Tomiyasu, these kind of players that are not necessarily in Arsenal's starting 11. If you're playing to the point where Arteta starts you week in, week out, it's your spot to lose. I just care about trying to get 3 points week in, week out. The collective has to come first. As I said, while I like the family mentality we're not here to make family. They've all got family from different walks of the world. Football's a great game that, you know, it doesn't matter if you're white, black, whatever continent you're on, you all come together, fans and players alike, but we're not here for that. This ain't kumbaya. We're here to win the league. As much as I like this ain't Disneyland. You know, at some point next season, the romance of football, and especially to this football club, is turned off. You need to win games. And what I mean by that is the Liverpools, the Southamptons, the West Hams, the cities at the Etihad. By God's grace, we're in the latter stages of competitions. It's them times there. It doesn't really matter. You need to get the job done. So whether it's game week 1 or game week 38, whoever is the best options in Mikel Arteta's team, go out and run it. Although I'm a hypocrite, though, because I won't complain if we get a free kick. I hear that, man. He does get bodied, man. Eddie would be good for Palace. Apparently, Arsenal aired Palace for him and Balogun. It's the sticky one because Trossard will impact the game if he comes off the bench. But in my opinion, I'll start him over Martinelli. You got 2 impactors, quote unquote, there. So I agree. Do you think, in truth, as much as we love Jesus, we are frustrated with his lack of goals and take out that frustration on Eddie? If Eddie was backing up a Kane, for example, fans would arguably be happy. I can't speak for that, you know, for me personally. I can only say I do think there's too much of a drop-off with Eddie Nketiah and Jesus, even though I think Eddie Nketiah, he doesn't just stand up front anymore. He has developed as a player. I've got question marks over Jesus' lack of goals, and Eddie is anything but clinical. And at some point within the next 2 years for Eddie Nketiah, as much as he's got a role in the squad, Arsenal's moving forward. He come from Hayland, he's a London lad and all of that stuff. Originally, where Arsenal were from in South. Spurs, you got to thank us because there would have been no Premier League titles or trophies for that matter in this neck of the woods if we didn't do that. There'll come a time where you probably want to start games, start at 10 games, and come the end of the season, play 20, 30 games. And as much as Arteta is training Eddie and he's developing and stuff, there's no substitute for playing games. The man's 24 now. At some point, we're going to look at that. For me, I try not to ask anything from players more than I believe. The whole reason I mentioned the lack of goals for Jesus is because I believe you're good enough to get 20 league goals plus as a minimum. You're good enough for that. But for one reason or not, you ain't done that at Arsenal. And you ain't done that at City. Yes, we can hide behind the fact that he was injured and stuff like that. But had Jesus have stayed fit, I believe he might have got 20 odd. But I don't necessarily even convinced in what I'm saying there, really. It was a bit, you know, we spoke about the Zinchenko Rio Ferdinand interview, you know, and I think Zinchenko touched on it where he said to Jesus, I think sometimes you should just stay up front. But I like Jesus, really. I think he fits the Arteta system, really. But I just think sometimes we need goals. False 9 and then another false 9 as a sub, not enough different options. Allow me, man. Allow me. Next week. I got to freshen up for Rebels still. Allow me. I heard the honeys like the greasy look. Allow me, but man. DG, what's your opinion on Rice playing the Stones role? So the team might be Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Rice, Partey, Havertz, Odegaard, than the normal front three. I think this would be good for Havertz in midfield. Run it. If you can run that moon dust, run it. And you know what? As much as I said I think Rice could do that, what's to say Timber couldn't do that John Stones role? The more roles you can do in the team, why not? Again, I hate to keep using City, but you've seen many of their players play different roles. You've seen Bernardo Silva effing play left back. You saw that with Jesus once upon a time. I'm sure they played Real Madrid in the Champions League and he was left back. You've seen a bunch of their players play as false nines. You've seen Stones play all about the place as well. You see Ake play all about the place and Akanji play all about the place. I'm sure if you even asked their goalkeeper Edison, I'm sure he would fancy a run in midfield. Big up DG. We need Kudus. That is the last piece of the jigsaw. I like Kudus, but I do think a bit like with Balogun, Arsenal fans are doing that thing where they it's not that when I say a player is overrated, it don't mean they're not good, but we're putting them on a level potentially they're not. And then ultimately some fans, not saying you or anyone necessarily here, but we put man at a level and then ultimately you're the first to tear these guys down. And to go back to the Eddie Nketiah thing, how would have people have looked at it if Eddie Nketiah went on loan to Reims and scored 20 plus league goals and Balogun did exactly what Eddie Nketiah did last year, which I think Eddie's shown he can fill in for Jesus. I hope he can score some goals if he gets an opportunity. Osman would be lit, but bread, you know, Napoli spent a lot of money getting him in the first place. So money in it, really. I love the fact we've got 2 or more for each position. I do believe in such. DJ, what in your opinion is the pecking order in our midfield with regards to the positions, defensive mid, centre mid, and AM, and the players we have? Well, number 10, Odegaard clearly first. I think a fit Smith Rowe second. I don't think Trossard would be third, but I think that's an option I would look to deploy. I mean, technically Zinchenko could play there, but it's not too high up there. I'd probably say Odegaard, Smith Rowe, probably even Kai Havertz now because of his versatility and the fact that we bought him for X amount of money. Then probably Fabio Vieira in the midfield pivot. Defensive mid, we don't have many options. So it would probably be give or take Rice and Partey first in the six, a lone six. And then you've got probably Jorginho and then El Nene. And the same could be extended to midfield. So I hope that's answered. Your centre mid is clearly the organic centre mids for me anyways in Rice, Partey, then Jorginho. But if anything happened to them names I've said there, then for me personally, I would love to explore Smith Rowe in the rotating 8, Havertz in the rotating 8, Odegaard in that rotating 8 role, before I look at other options. So I hope I've answered your question to the best of my ability. Killer instinct needs to activate. It does. And as much as I like Jesus, and I think you've got the ability to score goals, I do believe, a bit childish, but I do believe strikers are born. I have no evidence of this, but I don't necessarily believe Jesus is born to score goals necessarily. But then again, was Thierry Henry? Glad I had time to watch your streams back. One of the credible Arsenal fan pundits. Great insight from you, DG. Love that. Keep up. Big praise, man. Big praise. I'm not worthy of such, but we keep working. Shout out the New Yorkers. Jesus' only issue to me is his fitness. I mean, it's another knee knock, innit? And for me, I'm no doctor, and I don't know if the two are linked, but was he not out with a big knee knock before? He's had a bit of minor surgery now. When I keep hearing this, it's a bit scary, really. I'm due to be on Rance's stream again soon. Now that the season's underway, it's only right. Big up Rance. Ramos signed for Paris Saint-Germain. Yeah. Jesus plays the striker role like Firmino used to, in my opinion. More important to the style of play and can score a few goals, but isn't the main gunman. I hear that. There is game. Sometimes we need a target, man. And for me, I always look at the Anfield away. But for obvious reasons, that was a crazy game where we did good in some moments, shaky in others. But I think we lost a lot of control when Trossard came on to play against Van Dijk. And when we took off Jesus and Odegaard, we lost our outlets in an attacking sense when they had us pinned in that half. And as much as I like Trossard in the false nine, a bit like anyone that's a false nine in this team, there's only certain games you can run it. I do think there's times we just need a hold up, man. DG, what do you think if we got Tchouaméni on loan, maybe, or Felix? Not really convinced with Tchouaméni, the poor old lad. Think he's a good player though. For Felix, I don't know, because I think if football was as white and black of you sign a player based on ability and they're a hit, great. But I just don't know. Away from just being a good player and a player we tried to sign in January allegedly, and the fact of clearly Arteta likes him, I just don't know where Felix fits. If Arteta wants it, great, but where does he start for Arsenal Football Club right now, and what's his best position? As much as I'm praising versatility, I do like in the last 18 months or so, we're bringing in players that you can see play one role as well as others. You know, Zinchenko, give or take, he can play in centre mid or he can operate in left back. Timber by trade is a centre back / right back. He can do a thing elsewhere. The same goes for Tomiyasu. The same goes for the Trossards, the Smith Rowes, forcing it, but Martinelli, Jesus of this world. I just think Felix is a guy that can do everything, but what are you good at? And we have already, like, again, if Arteta wants it, listen, Felix has a lot of untapped potential, but we've already got a lot of these project players. We're still, as much as Saka's consistent, we're still trying to get him to that other level. Jesus, in terms of goals, is trying to rewrite his sort of history and be known as a goal scorer for everything else. Havertz is now defining himself, whatever his role is in the team. Declan Rice, we know by trade is a number 6, but he's trying to add a nut to his game. Smith Rowe, a fit Smith Rowe. Is he a 10? Is he a left winger? Is he an 8? I think we got a lot of these project dons, and for the money that Felix is going to cost, I don't know if it's worth it. I'm not against it, but I don't know if it's worth it. Of course, he can play as a striker, but I must admit, I don't really want, if Arteta wants it, and I'm not going to complain, I don't really want another false nine sort of done. I kind of just want a striker, like 30 guys, man. Like, I forgot with Aubameyang in his prime, I forgot what it was like as an Arsenal fan to have someone that genuinely is going to score goals, give or take, whatever the weather, and be in contention for the Golden Boot. It's easy to say this, but if we had a Kane, if we had a Haaland, where would we be, really? How many... Not that there was too many. How many games where we were drawing, or with games we deserved to lose, or games we actually lost last season, could we have turned to draws or victories if we had someone that's just going to bag and just get us out of problems? Not that we don't have individuals like that. Can't say Saka. Who are Arsenal's top 5 goal scorers this season in order? In order? That's difficult, man. Martinelli. Odegaard, mainly just off the basis of you lot got 15 league goals last season, give or take between the two. In fact, Martinelli should be first, really, because unfortunately he got a goal, was it against United? Incorrectly ruled out, so he should have 16. Assuming they play the same minutes and things keep happening, I would say Martinelli. I'd have to issue. I don't know if Odegaard's going to get 15 league goals, but, you know, you're my captain, so I'll probably say him. Don't really know for Eddie with that. Do you know what? Scratch all of that. Scratch all of that. Scratch all of that. You can't say Saka, yeah? Good question. I'm going with the boys from Brazil, Jesus. I'm speaking that one into existence. So Jesus second then. Well, Jesus, Martinelli, Odegaard. Thing is, I want to say Trossard, but if I look at it, Trossard ain't scored that many goals for Arsenal. As good as he's been, he's done the assisting, but he ain't scored that many goals for Arsenal. He weren't really that clinical statistically, and I don't know if your minutes will be adjusted. I mean, Smith Rowe, a bit like Trossard, showed he can get goals and assists, but I don't know how much football you're going to get. It's a good question, man. It's a good question. It's a good question. You know what? Jesus, Martinelli, Odegaard. 2 names now. 2 names. Could Havertz surprise us in that regards? I can't give you last 2, man. That's too hard of a question, K, man. I need more time to think. Do you know when the 3rd kit will be released? I mean, socials say that it's coming out on the 18th of August. Don't quote me. I'm not knowing the no. I don't know any of that. We've got 104 likes. If you smash the like button, one love, keep your thoughts coming. And if you haven't, come on. Felix could be used as backup to Saka, but him and Jesus aren't really ruthless finishers when deployed up front. And that's it. We need a bit of that ruthlessness. Do you rate Jonathan David? Not really. H has gone with Martinelli, Odegaard, Kai, and Nketiah and Jesus. I hear that. Jesus kept injured, reminding me of past Jack Wilshere. Hope Arsenal can handle it. Martinelli, Saka, Odegaard, Jesus, Havertz. I'm more speaking Jesus and Havertz into existence. I tried to answer the question with, if I had to bet my life, Martinelli's away from Saka is the only ones I'd lay down my life. If someone said, if they don't score enough goals, you're going to die, really. As dramatic as that sounds. Very dramatic for myself, really. Spot on, brother. I was thinking Havertz was brought in as second choice to Odegaard. I do think you're going to see Havertz play as a centre mid a lot of the time, but there might be games like City. Arteta says, you know what, I got a game plan. You're going false 9, or Saka might not be there. You might play on the right. Who knows, man? Who knows? Great talking points, man. With that being said, let's make a timestamp, and let's actually look at what is being said in the papers and all those things. Keep your thoughts coming, folks. Transfer news. Let's get into it. Let's cover everything, people, essentially. What have we got first? Let me share my screen with you guys. There we have it. Big up you lot. Don't forget to smash the like button. Allegedly, Arsenal turned down a Balogun transfer offer from Monaco. Yesterday, David Ornstein said Arsenal have turned down a formal offer from AS Monaco for Balogun. Monaco had an opening verbal proposal for the USMNT international rejected following a pre-season friendly between the clubs last week. A written bid has now also been knocked back, although Monaco's pursuit of Balogun continues. And apparently, you know, their sporting director has a strong relationship with Edu at the club. Inter Milan are monitoring developments, but it's unclear if they've got the budget to do such, people. So we'll have to see. Lens have also been thrown into the mix, as you know, Inter and AC and all of these lot, but Monaco have actually bidded. The Inter Milan links are very aggressive. There has been tentative links to West Ham, but I would, at this moment, as an ignorant fan speaking to you lot, without knowing anything and definitely without knowing what Edu's doing, if Monaco have bidded verbally and bidded actual email, then they're on it. Inter Milan seem to be on him, so it's them clubs there. I don't know if he would lean towards Inter Milan or Monaco. Monaco's a very respectful club, a romantic club. I swear it's tax-free money there. Obviously, Balogun knows Liga. For Monaco, it'd be great because you go there, you settle down roots, they'll sell you to the highest bidder, a bit like what half of the teams that want to buy these young players are saying. But I could understand, you know, Inter Milan's a massive club with massive previous players and massive strikers. And, you know, he could probably speak to a lot of, I know he plays for America, but a lot of British players or young British players that have gone abroad / gone to Italy, really. So we'll have to see in that regards. Nottingham Forest apparently have reached an agreement to sign Matt Turner. Some reports say he's actually currently undergoing his medical. It's unclear what the price tag will be, but the 29-year-old is scheduled to undergo a medical, which was yesterday, but now it's Tuesday, so he's probably done that. And we're working on finalising bringing David Raya from Brentford to Arsenal as a replacement, it says here, and to compete with Aaron Ramsdale, folks. So we all have to see. Romano has weighed in on that and said negotiations continue between Arsenal and Brentford for Raya. It's getting getting closer. All parties hope to get it done in the next few days, hopefully before the start of the season. Raya has been very clear he wants to play for Arsenal. Again, Fabrizio was weighed in on Balogun. He said not only Inter, Monaco want to try and bid again for Balogun after the initial proposal made on Monday. He's a top target to replace Embolo, who broke his ACL. Both Inter and Monaco are expected to have situation clear this weekend. A bit like when we're going with City for Declan Rice, well, sell to the highest bidder. I don't know Balogun from anywhere really, but I just wonder if you'll probably lean towards Inter Milan. It's a new league, it's an experienced league, it's a bigger club with the greatest of respect. But if we can get into a bit more, great, drive up the price, keep it moving if that's what we're doing. As you can see here, apparently Balogun is prioritizing Inter Milan amid West Ham, Monaco, and Lens talks. Lens, who have just sold a star striker, West Ham, who got 105 million, after Declan Rice, and they've sold Skamaka and apparently are selling Vlasic, so they got bread. I don't know, selling Balogun can come back to haunt us, but if we want anywhere from 35 to 50 million, I'm not saying clubs abroad couldn't pay the price tag, but who's more likely to overpay, quote unquote, for Balogun? It's probably going to be a British club. Balogun is prioritizing a move to Inter and mid attempts from West Ham, Monaco, and Lens to agree provisional terms for the forward, according to sources by this article. So we'll have to see. Monaco aren't the only club attempting to agree terms with Balogun. Lens, West Ham, and Inter also speaking to reach a provisional agreement with the Arsenal forward. Apparently, he favours Inter Milan, although the Serie A side may struggle to pull off the deal due to financial demands being imposed by Arsenal. Kind of what we were speaking about. As the market goes on, clubs might have to pay a bit more for Balogun. Arsenal might have to accept a bit less. As long as we get a decent sell-on clause, maybe a buyback clause, is what it is. I want to sell Balogun for a lot of money, as you lot know, because ability and price tags in football has gone mad. We finally got a sellable asset. When you look at it, that he's probably played 10 odd times for Arsenal in cups, one league start, ain't played 90 minutes, too tough for Arsenal, if any. It's still good money on a Haylen product. Haylen has to produce players for the first team. If not, sell them, reinvest, keep it moving. A bit like Joe Willock and Iwobi. Best of luck to them in their careers. We'll have to see. Apparently, Werder Bremen, Wolfsburg are interested in Nuno Tavares. Tavares is valued by Arsenal at 30 million and is attracting interest from clubs in Italy and England, as well as from the Bundesliga. Everybody's interested in everyone. Putting bids down and negotiating is a completely different thing. But the more players that are not in Arteta's plans that can cut, the better. What is this? Oh, that's just about Monaco and Balogun. Apparently, Arsenal have rejected 30 million euros from Monaco for Balogun, really. There you have, and Jesus apparently is doing that recovery. Apparently, Turner to Nottingham Forest is to be announced today, people. Fair enough. And that's Michael Oliver has been appointed Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest. I look forward to VAR doing us dirty. Marquinhos has been linked with several loan spells, and apparently he's joining Nantes in France on loan, people, which the 20-year-old, we hope he can have a good loan spell, either be sold for a profit after spending 3 million on him or be reintegrated back into the team, really. Clearly behind Reece Nelson, evidently behind Bukayo Saka. You've got the Jesuses of this world. You've got the Havertz. You've got players who can play out wide. He needs minutes. He weren't terrible at Norwich, but after a banging debut, didn't really do too much. And he's 20 years of age, just moved to Europe. Keep developing in it, really. And apparently he'll join on a season-long loan for an initial 300k fee, people, while Nantes will cover 500,000 of his annual salary. Discussions are ongoing whether or not to include an option to buy for 12 million euros and a buyback for 22. Do that. Or make it mandatory if you can. Apparently, Arsenal snub Nicolas Pepe agent request with separate winger departure imminent. Allegedly, apparently Pepe's reps have so far struggled. Sorry, people, what's this? Pause that. Sorry, as I was saying, Pepe's reps have so far struggled to entice Arsenal into mutual termination of the client's contract as Besiktas continue to push for the signing of the Ivory Coast international winger. So does Arsenal think that, you know what, let's keep trying and get a transfer fee, and we believe we can, and if worse comes to worse, we'll rip up his deal? Why has that been the case? Because he's been linked with Fenerbahce and Besiktas, hasn't got over there, hasn't stayed at Nice on a permanent basis, clearly not in Arteta's plans. It's quite crazy because worse players have gone over there, but in Saudi Arabia, you heard that, unable to agree personal terms to go over there. Where we at with Pepe, really? And this is probably the one that's going to be the hardest to kind of flog, really. Apparently, the Turkish giants are prepared to explore alternative targets if his agency failed to deliver on their promise of freeing the player from the final year of his contract in North London. Arsenal have indicated in previous windows that they are prepared to tear up contracts for the greater good, as we know. Smash the like button if you haven't. Apparently, Pepe's reps are set to hold further talks with Arsenal in due course as they attempt to twist Edu's arm, and there's still a chance the landscape could change. maybe, you know, Arsenal saying, you know what, you want to rip up the contract, we'll give you some wages that you're owed, but we won't give you everything. And maybe Pepe and his agents aren't wanting to do that. Apparently, he's agreed terms with Besiktas, so let's see what's going on in that regards. And I do think Arteta is very clear and concise and leaves no air of doubt when he talks specifically. Equally, I think he's learned from Pep Guardiola and Arsene Wenger in that when he leaves an air of uncertainty around players, then that tells you everything, really. Like when Martinelli wasn't playing, he was crystal clear. With Saliba, he was crystal clear. With Balogun, especially when they asked him of the aftermath to Jesus' injury, he said the plan doesn't change with Balogun, and it was really media answers. So that tells you not that Balogun's ruled out, but we've probably made a decision. And on Pepe, he was quite crystal clear with the fact that his loan spell hasn't been good. And he said at the moment he's recovering from an injury, which is why he's not here. He had a spell on loan, and obviously we wanted to get much more than we got from that loan spell. We have to see when we come back, understand what the plans are, and make the right decision for him. So I think that ambiguous nature tells you everything. Apparently, former Gooner and Liverpool man Oxlade-Chamberlain could be going to Turkey, and as we said, Marquinhos is moving ever closer, allegedly, to joining Nantes on the season-long loan. Apparently, a move to Olympiacos on loan collapsed. And going to Greece, Olympiacos a big team to play, first team footballer that, but I'd prefer him to go to a top 5 European league like in France. So best of luck, really and truly. You know, go and get minutes, go and develop and do what you want to do. Monaco, as we said, are trying to get Balogun. Whether they get it done is whatever. Balogun is keen to pursue a permanent transfer away from Arsenal for whatever reason. So it's crazy. You look at that picture of all our American internationals. Turner's gone, basically. Trusty's gone, and Balogun probably is gone. This is still talking about Pepe to Besiktas people. Apparently, they have an agreement with Pepe, and apparently shaking hands with the player for a 2.5 million euro warranted fee plus bonus. So is that his yearly wages? If that is, that's quite the reduction in Pepe. So I think this is just more or less going to say the same things that we're saying, people, but we'll have to see. Everybody's linked with everyone. Moving's a different thing. Allegedly, Barcelona have responded to Arsenal's surprise approach for Ansu Fati. Barcelona have no intention of letting Fati leave the club this summer, allegedly. And I'm sure some of you have seen Caicedo's not turning up at training for Brighton. Why you signed a new deal? Only you could answer. But yeah, apparently Barca don't want to sell Fati. I don't know if they're credible and if it's on paper that we've actually bidded, but you'd have to see there. Big up Ainsley for going to Lyon on loan. Wish him the best of luck. Jorginho is understood to have no intention of leaving the club this summer. The Telegraph Sport understands Jorginho is keen to stay and fight for his place in the team, and mid reports to Turkey. So we have to see. And we're going to need your experience. We're back in the Champions League. We're going to need Jorginho. And you saw to the tail end of last year what he could do for us, really. So we're going to need to keep you. We haven't been linked with Lyon's Barcola. He's been linked with Barcelona, Manchester City, and PSG. But if you could buy him and that Cherky guy from Lyon got some good players. I would love this Barcola. You can be groomed into a striker, probably performs the best off the flanks at this moment in time. Again, as you lot know, there was some rumors Kudus has agreed to move to Brighton, but BBC is saying there's still no agreement for Kudus. Brighton are understood to have reached an agreement over a fee with Ajax for the midfielder Kudus. However, there's no agreement yet between Brighton and the Ghana midfielder over personal terms. Is he stalling because there might be interest from other clubs? I don't know. Apparently, he's attracted a lot of interest this summer. He has been linked with Man United, and also it says here both Chelsea and Arsenal are keen on him, and it'll be interested to see what's going on there, people. Apparently, Ajax and Brighton have a secret agreement for Kudus since the beginning of July. Ever since then, both clubs have been waiting for Kudus' decision. Kudus wanted to take his time, but now Brighton is pushing for an answer. They want to know whether to make or break the deal in the next hours. So that will tell you where he's heading, people. Ornstein has spoken about Balogun, people, and what specifically has he said? They have Jesus and Ketia Balogun. The expectation is that Arsenal, to our knowledge, are not in the market for a striker. They have Jesus and Ketia. Balogun, the exception is that he will leave, but it's not done yet. They have auxiliary options like Trossard and Kai Havertz, which is true. You could probably throw a couple of other names into that, people. Romano has been speaking specifically. What has he said in relation to Raya? The negotiation with Brentford was very complicated. Now Arsenal are in direct contacts with Brentford. There is a discussion going on even today while I'm speaking. They are discussing the terms of the deal. Arsenal made a bid last week of 20 million plus add-ons, and it is a very concrete possibility to see a deal done this week. Hopefully that does get done and we sign the individual people. It's as simple as that. In terms of Arsenal news, again, keep your thoughts on that coming. It doesn't appear that there's anything else in the papers and whatnot, folks, but let me go on Google and change the filters to an hour. This is why I hate using this Brave browser, because it takes me to their search engine. I don't really want to use that. Let's type in Arsenal. Change the filter to an hour and let's see what's come out. Right. Spurs are selling that Jed Spence shoot. Martinelli was nice enough to give you a career there, man. Really and truly. He was nice enough to give you a career. I mean, I guess there's a couple, 1-2 bits and pieces here, people actually. Oh, fair enough. Let's go over there. It seems like there is some 1-2 things better there, people. So let's go back into it. Sorry, pulled the plug on that segment of our live stream, probably prematurely. Very confident pundit says David Ornstein has privately told him Arsenal sign incredible player. Everybody's told everyone in it, really and truly. It all depends on the pundit, you know. If it's Gary Neville, I'm not gonna take it in. Oh, it's Adrian Clark. Big up my guy Clarky. Yeah, all right, cool. I'm awake. I'm listening. Make sure you're checking out the video I did with Adrian Clark, which we do every year. Apparently, he said we will see. I bumped into Orny and we had a little bit of a chin wag, and he said he was very confident on the Raya deal being finalized in the next couple of days. So yeah, let's see. You know my thoughts on it. I think we're a stronger squad having both of them. Big up Adrian Clark. He ain't lied. Fair enough. I think, you know, bit of a mad headline there from you, but yeah, we've already spoken about Tavares, but clubs in the Bundesliga have been name dropped in Werder Bremen and Wolfsburg. In my opinion, he's the best left back at the club. I can't believe Arteta isn't playing him. Timber's not that good in comparison to him. Neither is Tomiyasu, Kiri, or Zinchenko or Tierney. Please don't buy Tavares. Please don't. We can't fight for the title without him. Please. I can't believe Arteta is going to sell him. Werder Bremen, you're getting the best young Portuguese fullback there is, really and truly. Might as well take him, really. But apparently, on a serious note, Wolfsburg and Werder Bremen have been name dropped. So we'll have to see, really. I don't know if there's credibility in Ojogo. I think that's out of Portugal. So I have to see. We want 15 million euros, 30 million quid, which is a decent little profit off the 8 million we spent in 2021. It's just not the thing, man. Tavares can't help us, people. Apparently, who is this? His agent has said that he wants to stay at Arsenal. Yeah, and I want to date with Kelly Rowland still. Nuno is still under contract at Arsenal. He wants to stay in the team, but let's see what happens in the future. I mean, your agent's going to kind of say that, but we'll have to see. Apparently, Sociedad are targeting a loan spell for Kieran Tierney. I mean, I'm team Kieran Tierney. I don't want to be reactionary, but after that little cameo, it just looks like the system's left you, my guy. But apparently, he's wanted by Sociedad on loan. Doesn't really help us, really. I'm keeping Tierney unless we get an offer that makes sense. I know you want to play first team football, Tierney, and you're more than welcome to push for a deal. Hope Newcastle come in for you if you want to leave so we can get money, but forget all of that. We need you for the squad. Loan ain't going to help us, really and truly. Once again, AS Roma and Inter Milan are interested in Balogun. Tavares and Pepe are expected to leave. Patino is also expected to depart either on loan or permanently. And Burnley are still in talks over Lokonga on loan. Lokonga is probably the forgotten man of all the one-to-way players. I think this is in relation to Balogun again. At this moment in time, we're talking about the same things. He's only played 43 minutes over 2 friendlies. He has been injured, but I don't think Arteta is planning with you. I think you and your agents and whatnot have probably had a conversation with Arteta and it's probably agreed that keep it moving now, innit? Why can't we just sign Felix? It's better to risk it than strain Saka with the increased game time and extra time in games. But I think what we've seen with Arsenal, they'll only move for players if they're 100% convinced. You know, you can't on ability, yeah, but it just can't be an ability thing. Balogun twerking for Inter. I mean, Balogun seems to just be a social media badina, if I'm honest with you. Why did we sign Turner? He was here for like 1 or 2 seasons. That's it. Probably for USA exposure. I mean, who knows, really? Matt Turner probably just forced the ball and said, I want to leave. Who knows? If we can make a profit and keep it moving. I've never been 100% convinced with Matt Turner, so I'm on for David Raya, if I'm honest. 40 million plus for Balogun is unrealistic, to be honest. I mean, if you're buying Balogun, put yourself... I think Arsenal are right to demand top dollar. But if I'm Inter, if I'm Roma, if these things, just because you got money don't mean you want to pay certain fees. I'm going to sit there and say to Arsenal, boy, he's only done it 1 season. He's contracted until 2025. If you keep him here at Arsenal and he doesn't play, then his stock might not be as high. Or if you stay and he plays 38 games or he goes on loan again or whatever, not that he's going on loan and he doesn't do what he did, then his stock's going to drop. You might have to just take this bread I got now because essentially it's a gamble. Why do we keep going for left wingers? I'm still upset we didn't get Diaby. That is what it is. Arteta just shows naivety and seems to never learn. Why can't you sign a right wing or a striker before a keeper or keep Balogun then? Bit harsh. He's potentially the greatest Portuguese Benfica Academy Marseille loan left back to ever be born in the 2000s. 40 billion at least. Big up yourself, S, as well. He's going to Nantes now. Big him up. How much game time would Balogun get at a team like Inter? Litoro would most of the time, and he's not good with his back to goal. If he deems he can play goal playing, I just think he wants to know where he stands. And if they're going to sign you for 35, 40, maybe even 50 odd million, you're probably going to play a lot more over them sides than you would at Arsenal. But I think Balogun, I don't know you, but seems like there's a bit more self-awareness that you need to develop. I think you need to mature a bit and realize sometimes it's not about ability, really. And stop the social media antics. I thought we left that with Ainsley Maitland-Niles, if I'm brutally honest. Much love, had to hit the like for the squad. Appreciate you lot, man. Without you lot, it's dead, really and truly. Like without you. And on that note, really, 132 likes on YouTube. Twitch gang, you're doing what you need to do. Keep your thoughts coming before we cut people. What comment is that said? If we had 50 million, who you buying, DG? 50 million in this day and age don't go too far, does it? But I try find a couple of extra million and activate the release clause of Zubamendi. We don't really need it, but I would try and talk to Leon about Bacola, if I'm honest. I hope Arteta keeps playing Havertz centre forward, best position for him. How has Højlund been sold for 70 million when he scored under 10 goals? Because he's a player that market is selling to this club. If Man United, a bit like Arsenal, anyone, if you try and buy these players, you're paying tourist rates. Kudus 50 million is good value. Ain't they saying 40 million? Don't get on to Ainsley. His girl is active on socials. Allow it, man. Gravenbeck, them rumours seem to have gone. I don't know if Bayern Munich apologies have told him you're going to play. But again, with 3 weeks left of the window, you're going to see a lot of things happen, really. Maybe not just necessarily connected to Arsenal, but in the wider world of football, really. You'd expect things to happen. Elise is available for 30M. Seems like he's going Chelsea or City based on media reports, and it doesn't seem like we're in for him. But if we could bring Elise to the carpet, I think he's a perfect player for Mikel Arteta's system and a very versatile player with on an upward trajectory. If you could get, I think our fans overrate Kudus a bit, but him, Elise, they'd be good options. Balogun is the new Anelka. Get rid of him. Bit harsh. 50 million. I'm going for Tony. I hear that. Big up DJ. Hit the like you a lot more, man. Havertz should go bench. Marking at Thierry Henry or R9 home and learn how to finish. I mean, I think Arteta is going to have to work that. I mean, when Arteta bought him, he obviously thought about Havertz's strengths, but it's the weaknesses that need to be churned out with every player. So he's probably well aware. Reignite the hour links. Ain't he gone Roma? So that one there is a myth, really. Big up the night. But on that, people, at some point today, I'm going to be playing Football Manager with you lot on Twitch. I do owe you lot that. But on that note, it's lunchtime. It's 1 o'clock. We've been here for 1 hour, 21 minutes, just shy of 90 minutes. Thank you for your talking points, your questions, listening, integrating me into whatever day. Might have to start getting the live streams back, people. And as you know, with the Premier League starting, I do think we're going to do a watch along for Man City, Burnley, obviously Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, definitely Brentford, Spurs, and definitely Chelsea, Liverpool. So make sure you've got your notifications on. You're checking out the rest of the content, etc., folks. And also, if you're not done, 2 p.m. My video of Art DeRoche of The Athletic, and as he says in the video, I had a conversation with Mertesacker and Arteta, and this guy now I'm playing these good peoples. We're doing, there's a video to come out there. Havertz has good positioning, but he needs to, stop falling on the floor when you strike. But then again, Martinelli's still not necessarily clinical, but he's churned that out, so he's gonna have to learn. I agree. Balogun has gone too far now. Sell the man quickly. He's lowering his value, and I mean I can't blame him for that. You want to engineer the move away. You want Arsenal to drop the price tag because the clubs have probably got in your rear. Keep it moving, really and truly. It is what it is. Do what you need to do to have the career you want to do. If you staying at Arsenal wouldn't have developed you. You went to France last year. You're dramatically a better player 12 months on. If you think Arsenal is the best, leaving the club is the best thing for you, go and do your thing, regardless of if I think you should play or not. If they're offering you more game time, even though promises are subjective, go and do it, people. But yeah, on that note, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't, turn on your notifications, stay blessed, stay safe. Hope you're all in good health and your loved ones as well. One love.
Against this right back, Charlie.
There's always that active red light defending. I think it's like. There's always that active red light defending. I think it's like.